Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Objective. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Daily Wire's acquisition, optioning of the Atlas Shrugged thing, where it now gives them the exclusive ability to adapt it to a new medium. It's some big legalese words I don't really understand. All I know is I don't like the Daily Wire going near Ayn Rand's work, and I don't like them stepping on the toes of today's co-hosts and guests. So this upsets me on multiple levels. So we got a lot to get into. So let's meet them. We got all the way from somewhere in an undisclosed area. He is speaking to us through spotty audio. And where is he? And who is he going to have a word with? I don't know if he can tell us. It's Mark Pellegrino.
What's up, guys? I hope you can hear me.
Mark's actually out on bail.
Yeah. Ooh, we can get into some of that. The wrath of Mark. And, and we've got, if you're wondering who those lovely ladies are, we got two women who truly, my life changed the day that I met them, but it wasn't meeting them. We went to go see Leonard Peikoff speak. It's Jennifer Bouani and Jacqueline Schumman.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, other than the horrible news. So first off, just in terms of like the Daily Wire doing something with Atlas Shrugged, it's such a awkward match. And I know like Ayn Rand has been somewhat embraced by the conservatives over the decades, definitely more recently in recent decades, way more than in the first place when Atlas Shrugged was first published. This is awkward today in a number of ways. It's kind of tone deaf, even just for conservatives. So like, where are conservatives these days? They are not excited about free markets. You know, like the point of the Daily Wire Plus, like this whole like exclusive streaming service for paying members. The point was, oh, we're going to bring you entertainment that, leftist Hollywood isn't going to bring you, right? Because we're going to combat them in this culture war. Since they're pushing leftism on you, we're going to, entertain you in a way that's true to our values. But is free market capitalism something that conservatives at the Daily Wire are pushing for as opposed to the left? They're not even pushing for it. Their audience are not hungry for it these days. It's just like a very strange like even message for them to even include in their streaming service these days, the way that I see it. So that's going on. And the sort of elephant in the room, which I forgot to mention the other day, is national conservatism, nationalism, which is the new way of the right, the conservatives. And it's not just me characterizing them. There's an actual manifesto that's being passed around. Everyone at the Daily Wire signed it except for Ben Shapiro. And this document explicitly states that their vision is that the individual's rights will be subjugated to the collective in some way, either the family values of the community or the prosperity of the nation. So literally stuff that takes place in Atlas Shrugged by the government.
Where did you see that? Is that publicly known?
Oh yeah. Like Yaron Brook read the full thing on his show. So maybe look up,
and why didn't Ben Shapiro sign it?
Probably because it goes too far for him. He still has some affinity for capitalism, for individual rights in some respect. He's not leading the charge towards populism and the burning of the Constitution, although he's in my view he's not doing nearly enough to hamper it. I mean, all of his colleagues at the Daily Wire did sign this thing. They've all been pushing against capitalism and individual rights in recent years. Plenty of conspiracy nuts are around him all day. So he's definitely not he's definitely not my favorite. So again, my point here being literally stuff that the government in Atlas Shrugged does, like this nationalist manifesto is kind of granting the government the ability to do. It's like, it's a very strange time for the Daily Wire to be going near the Atlas Shrugged. So yeah, not into that.
Well,
So can you...
let's get into some of the particulars of what happened with us. And I don't know if the ladies want to start off, or if you guys want me to tell this little story from my perspective. Sans any cursing or threatening to break bones. which sort of happened last time. What do you
Well,
girls think?
everybody
Do you
on
wanna
the
start off, or do you-
everybody on the chat, Mark, just wants they're waiting for the wrath of Mark. So why don't you why don't you proceed? We do want to make some corrections of what our initial impressions were when it came to. I will just say that we want to start out from the onset that we really don't think that Leonard Peikoff had much say at all in the in the rights option and what have you. So we just want to make sure this is not about Peikoff or the Ayn Rand estate. It's solely to do with the with the company that negotiated with the Daily Wire. So I'll start with that.
Now, here's the good news. I mean, Yaron touched on some of the good news, that it's an option, that this gives them time to develop the project, to work up the money, to work up the talent. He seems to think they might be able to work up the money. I significantly doubt it for a number of reasons that I'll talk about. But the good news is that they have a very different vision than us, as they would, because they're not objectivists. They don't know objectivist philosophy. Most of the people at the Daily Wire are very hostile to objectivism, especially the ethics, which I'm sorry are intimately bound up in Atlas Shrugged. You can't really take the ethics out of it and still have the same concepts. But since they have a completely different vision, which in some respects is transcribing the novel and rendering it, quote unquote, faithfully to the situations and the time that it was in, with the technology that it was in, which I think is sort of a loser. That the good news is that will take them a very long time to do. It takes a long time to, one, develop a show, and two, to take that development into fruition and actually get it done. We're talking, maybe 3 to 5 years. What they had with us was a completed project and a completed show Bible, and characters that I think would resonate with a modern audience. Not a million people who subscribe to this thing, who happen to be probably religious and have an natural antipathy towards objectivism, but a wide audience of Generation Zers and millennials, who are the very people we need to touch. These are the people that need to get Ayn Rand and ingest this stuff like a nutritious meal and go out there into the world and blaze new trails, not the old fuddy-duddies who subscribe to the Daily Wire. Now, full disclosure, we had a meeting with the Daily Wire. And before we went into this meeting with Dallas Saunier, who basically produces the content for them, and he's happy to produce it for them because his movies don't have as many people watching them as they have subscribers for the Daily Wire. So for him, this is a cush deal. Now, we went into the meeting explicitly with the idea of saying no to him. That's all we wanted to do, was take the meeting, pitch for the practice of pitching, but we wanted to be in the position to say no, and heard that he had an entirely different vision. So we didn't even get a chance to say no. It just didn't go any further. He didn't agree with us. We didn't agree with him. I wrote him a scathing letter expressing exactly what I felt about the Daily Wire's capacity to produce this thing well, and predicted a terrible not only a terrible failure for the Daily Wire, but a missed opportunity to really influence the culture at a moment, at the exact moment where we're at a tipping point, and Ayn Rand's ideas could really tip us in the right direction. It was not friendly, it was not nice, it wasn't rude, but it was accurate. And we could read it at some point if we want, or not. It's up to the girls. But anyway, that's sort of the short version of what's going on. The punchline for us is we ain't stopping. We're not stopping. If this is just an option for them to develop something, which they'll develop badly, we already know it. Oh, and another reason I know they'll develop it badly is because they've decided to go financial core with all of their acting talent. That means the actors who go into the show have to renounce their SAG membership. Now, I don't know any A-list actor who is going to do that.
Well, so Mark, explain to those of us who are not familiar with because especially when you come at it from a conservative or even an objectivist perspective, like SAG is union, and why is that so important? Like, what's the big deal about that? Why should people care?
Why they want people to go financial core?
Well, no, why is it so important? Why as an actor you look at it and go, oh my God, they want me to give up SAG. What's the ramification behind that?
Because I'm not exactly sure that financial core doesn't imply that I have to give up all the benefits that I've paid into the system. SAG is a screwed up union. It's very bad, and they charge you sliding scale dues. The more money you make, the more dues you pay. And of course, the more of a pension you make. And you don't want to spend 30 years in a union paying exorbitant dues and building up what should be a decent pension, only to give it all up for the possibility of working for, not even people who are on lists as actors, to please some ideological vision on the right. So I think they'll be hard pressed to find people who are willing to give up all of that stuff to work with them. They simply don't have the power to do that. They don't have the directors, they don't have the talent, they don't have the writers that could inspire that kind of thing. Like, for example, Woody Allen could do a movie, and if your asking price for a movie is $2 million, he can actually say, and all people are working on this show on favored nations. Favored nation status means everybody makes scale. So no matter what you make, no matter what your box office draw, you'll do scale because it's a Woody Allen movie, and you know that it's going to probably be good and do great things for your career if you're willing to put aside all your personal issues with respect to the way he lives his life. So he has the power, he has the gravitas to do that. Does Ben Shapiro's entertainment wing of his media empire have the gravitas to do that? No. Does Dallas Sonier have the gravitas to do that? No. So how they're going to bring real talent to this is a whole other Everest-esque obstacle they're going to have to overcome. And that comes after writing it, which nobody's been able to do well except for you guys, in my opinion. Sorry to even Ayn Rand script. Sorry, not so sorry to the jerk-offs who wrote the 3 movies that John Aguilera produced. They've been terrible. They're terrible. They're unreadable. They're unwatchable. You guys finally produced something that's not only readable, eminently readable as the pilot of Lost, which I read, and 20 other pilots, which are great, but eminently watchable, very entertaining. The heroes are fucking rock stars. There's humor in it. It's interesting. The characters are diverse, which is something that Hollywood froze at Ayn Rand as not being diverse. But you see characters in your story that everybody can identify with being heroic, being magnificent. Dagny's a rock star. Her entrance scene blew my mind. It gives me chills every time I think about it. Will these jerk-offs at the Daily Wire be able to duplicate that? Not in a fucking million years. And I challenge Dallas Sonier to get me in a room with Ben Shapiro and all these creeps over there, and I'd show him a thing or two. Didn't happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, the short version, I think, is that dropping your SAG membership is not something anyone would do unless it's like a huge project, right? It's very hard to get into SAG in the first place, and people are not just going to throw that away for a Daily Wire Plus series, unless they're like a small-time actor desperate for work.
I don't think that's going to happen. And even if, say, they're big enough to be say they're so financially independent, they rule a market like a Meryl Streep. They can do financial core and it doesn't matter, right? There's no way in hell they're going to get somebody like that. Mm-hmm. Because there is a general antipathy towards Ayn Rand in the business. I know I wrote letters to big producers, good letters to big producers, trying to get them on board. One of the biggest producers in Hollywood, who's producing one of the biggest shows on network television at the moment, said, Mark, we love you. We appreciate your passion for this, but we actually did a documentary that asserts Ayn Rand is one of the worst things to happen to Western civilization. So it would be hypocritical for us to actually pick up this series. Now, that's one of the biggest producers in Hollywood. It's very, very hard to get people who have the talent, the capacity, and the connections to cobble together a creative team to produce this just there, let alone the know-nothing world of the Daily Wire. Now, that doesn't necessarily include Dallas. Dallas knows something. He's produced movies in the past. They don't get a very wide audience. They're mostly B movies, but he does know what he's doing. He's got a good personality. He's got that Hollywood thing where he makes you feel like he likes you, even if he doesn't. And maybe that can lure some folks in. Maybe they'll get Nick Searcy, who's a good actor. I don't know, but maybe he's the one who will come in. But you think you can populate this cast with like Gina Carano or, some of the other folks who are...
I gotta say, so I watched the trailer for the latest movie that was released. I can't remember what it's called. I should probably look it up, but it was the one with Gina Carano. Let's see. What was it?
For some reason, I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now? Can you guys hear me?
I hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. So I watched the trailer. Oh, Terror on the Prairie. That's the name of the movie that Gina Carano was in. Nick Searcy was also in the movie. So I haven't seen the movie. I saw the extended trailer, and I think it got like 5.5 or maybe just 5 out of 10 on IMDb, which is not good. And these were from actually like the reviews were from Daily Wire fans. And like the movies that they've produced, except for the latest one, that's a documentary called What is a Woman? Everything that they've produced so far has been like 5.5 or under on IMDb. But I gotta say, I love Nick Searcy, and I loved him in Justified. He was amazing. But the writing because the writing in Justified was also amazing. The writing in Terror on the Prairie, I think, was terrible. And as a result, Nick Searcy is sort of this like Bible verse bashing villain. And nothing, it just wasn't good. Which goes to show, like, it really, like, you could be the best actor, but if you're not given good writing and the production value isn't on a higher level, it's very difficult to pull that off. My thoughts on it.
Absolutely. Can you hear me? This is going to be a massive fail.
Yeah, and even if we are serene about the fact that they're not going to include the philosophy of Ayn Rand in this bastardization, can they even depict the story? Because the Daily Wire's thing is, like I said, we're leftist Hollywood are they're selling you feminism and all this degeneracy. We're going to fuse traditional values into our culture war artifacts and our movies. Okay, are they going to show a career woman who doesn't have kids and has an affair with a married man, and that is the right decision? Like, are they going to show Dagny Taggart? Are they going to show Hank Rearden tell his wife and in-laws or his family to go to hell? These are the mental contortions that they're going to take years going through to try to produce something that fits the standard of the Daily Wire. Which will, of course, bastardize and completely destroy this amazing piece of fiction that needs to be out there right now. Okay, so I don't know if that was what John's motivation was for going over to the Daily Wire. Maybe his friend Harmon convinced him. Harmon, who
who wrote, didn't he write a couple of those movies, Atlas Shrugged movies? Those
he produced them. I don't know to the extent of I don't know how much he wrote them. But
okay,
yeah,
he can't write. He can't write. He, as a producer, he has some creative input in the content of the thing, so he doesn't understand what that is. And I'm sure since he got us the meeting with Dallas Saunier, he somehow pushed John into this as well. So we can hold him accountable to this abortion of a potentially great project. So, I mean, I think our steps are to keep fighting for the pure, good, interesting project that is going to hook people who have no idea who Ayn Rand is, or a slightly negative idea of what she is. And you do that through a completely independent studio. Or am I speaking too soon, guys?
That's the tragedy in all this, is that, John loved our script. He said it over and over again. He liked what we were doing. He liked what the stylistic changes that we had made, and he liked that we were sticking to philosophy. And he said that. I'm not sure, what Harmon said in his ear or what, we'll never know. But we do know Harmon was the one that introduced us to Dallas. That was the connection. Harmon was not nice to Sutherland, to say that. But Sutherland is, I feel like that Harmon and John just got impatient. Instead of waiting on the right way to do this, they just sold out, personally.
Man, I hate to say this, but conservative media's basic formula is to manipulate old white men. And I don't know anything about this John character, so I don't mean to insult him, but that is basically what they're best at. They tell old white guys that the left is in the cereal cabinet. It's everywhere. Everything that makes you uncomfortable, that's the left. Anything you disagree with is the left. So I could imagine the Daily Wire basically convincing the powers that be that the left is imminent. And if, we, the Daily Wire, we need this now. This is, this is going to be our weapon to change the culture and beat the left. So, that's kind of my reading of the situation with whatever evidence is available, I guess. So we did an episode on Friday. Here's a comment we got from Godless Monkey. If you want to learn about objectivism, go to the source, Ayn Rand and Leonard Peikoff. If you want to know how the Daily Wire will interpret Atlas Shrugged, go to the source. This is nothing but speculation. Kind of sad. Rucka saying he's not watching it is a lie. He will. Imagine being so tone deaf as to accuse me of lying about this, saying, I'm virtue signaling that I'm saying I'm not going to watch it. I have no temptation whatsoever. I would be tempted to watch Zack Snyder's depiction or whatever of the Fountainhead. That would be a bit of a conflict. But the Daily Wire doing Atlas Shrugged, I have zero interest in seeing. And I'm annoyed that this guy is so confident, so smug, but he's so wrong.
It's not speculation. We had a conversation with Dallas.
And you know enough about the Daily Wire to know some stuff about what they would probably do with this project. It's not complete speculation. And plus, the gigantic elephant in the room is that you guys have a better thing that you've been working on. That is, both true to the philosophy to a much greater extent and also not a shitty conservative culture war artifact. That's the thing. Conservatives are not cool. They don't make cool movies. They don't do cool music. They're inherently uncool. That's part of their whole. I'm not insulting them, right? Let liberals, whatever. There's plenty wrong with them, but they're the cool ones. Is that controversial?
No, it's not controversial. It's observational reality. And look, we don't have to guess. Ben Shapiro said Ayn Rand's ideas are garbage. He likes her economics, but her ethics are garbage. Now, I don't know how
both her philosophy and her sense of life are garbage.
Yes. Okay. Well, that says a great deal about what they think of the content of a piece like Atlas Shrugged, since both of those are intimately intertwined with the plot and the narrative. You can't separate them out at all without in the same way you can't separate shape from a circle. It is part of it. It's part of it. And I don't know if Euron was able to convince him that he's in error, but you can't hold the ideas that Ben does with respect to values, with respect to how one is supposed to act, with respect to relationships, and create this project purely. You just can't.
Yeah.
And I don't think Dallas is going to have enough creative independence to create it. And even if he does, I'm not so sure I like his taste.
Got Apollo Zeus with £5 saying thumbs up, Mark, and Allie Beard with $2 saying go, Mark, cheering for you and the ladies. And then Louise with £10. Thank you for that. Wyatt with $2 says, did John want the two teams to work together?
He has. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mark. Oh, I was just going to say, so I'm assuming that he's talking about, did John want the Daily Wire and us to work together? I cannot speak to intention, but I mean, John's guy, Harmon, his lawyer, did introduce us to Dallas from the Daily Wire. And this, mind you, was a while back. This was like last year. And when we still had the exclusive, we had the same, I gotta say, we had the same exclusive right at that time that the Daily Wire has now. So we just didn't do a press release on it. So what the Daily Wire has now is effectively like the same thing that we had. And we were introduced to the Daily Wire as Talk to Them. And we after and Dallas he read our script. He did say that he liked it, but he did call it a radical departure, which we contested in terms of it's a departure from the actual style, contemporary setting, the style, but it's not a departure from the philosophy. It's very spot on with the philosophy, and that's what we wanted to accomplish. So I think that there was a desire for the two of us to collaborate, although, as we've said before, we already talked about it prior to having a conversation. We did not want this to go behind a paywall. We didn't want this to be represented by a conservative organization in the same way that we wouldn't want like MSNBC to produce it. We don't want it to be labeled like that. This is something that should reach hearts and minds regardless of your political status or whatever your affiliation. So yeah, I think that there was a desire, but then, Dallas came back to us and was like, we very much would, prefer to put this as a period piece. And we were like, that's not going to work. But
yeah,
go ahead, Mark.
I think that's the death. I think that is the death of the piece. I mean, the script that these ladies wrote is in the near future. It's relatable. It's progressive in the sense that I think kids can identify with all of the technology, and it's even forward looking. So there's new stuff in there it's very interesting. And the characters are dynamic, and they're people you'd see in the tech world, I think. And I think people would be able to identify with them. And that's not a concession to the bad things that are going on with respect to woke culture, but it's a concession to the fact that making this cast diverse is important. It's an important phenomenon for younger kids to open themselves up to these ideas. And speaking and speaking the philosophy in contemporary language is important as well. Yeah. You want this thing to get through to people.
So you're
Jennifer, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just emphasizing that it's critical to translate it for the younger so they can identify with it. That's all I was saying.
Your project, The Strike, it's controversial from an objectivist perspective. We did an episode about this the first time the three of you were here, and maybe if Daniel knows what episode that is, he could post a link to it. So it's controversial. The plenty of objectivists will think, they won't like some of the language, I imagine, or some of the modernity. So it's not like, you guys are a bunch of crusty, Atlas Shrugged thumping objectivists that will not allow Atlas Shrugged to be, adapted in any way. If anything, the Daily Wire are basically concrete bound, and they're going to basically depict Atlas Shrugged. Probably, it sounds like a 1957 view of what the future looks like, and that's going to be awkward. But the point is, like, you care about this philosophy to a great extent, and you care about this project. You're doing it for more reasons than propaganda. You're doing it because it's artistic. And you're doing something that can reach normal people, not people who pay $10 a month to Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, and you know what? And frankly, we're not trying to reach the objectivist audience. It's great if they get something fantastic out of it, because it's a heroic piece. It's romantic. It's beautiful. And if they know anything about art, they should recognize that stuff. But I don't care about reaching objectivists. They've already been reached. I care about reaching the people who haven't been reached, which is the vast majority
I care
of the
about reaching people that are my daughter's age, that are in high school and going into college. These are our future leaders of the world. That's who I care about.
Yeah,
and also,
but
most importantly, we care to entertain. We want to make it entertaining, and we don't want to be hitting you over the head with philosophy and didactic dogma. It's you
want your philosophy in the action. You want them in the way the characters do what they do, and sometimes they have to say it because that's just the nature of philosophy. But it need not be didactic to get the point across. What you need is a great story, well told, that keeps people on the edge of their frickin' seats. And that's exactly what this thing does. From the opening moment, from the killer teaser on, I want to know what the hell is going on. And I know the story, for Christ's sakes. I've read the novel twice. And I'm an objectivist. So look, if Jax's daughter can go, ooh, this is cool, you're making headway, because most teenagers have been educated in school already that Ayn Rand sucks, and that her philosophy
my daughter's
is
a little
terrible.
communist too, and she likes the story.
Full communist. Now, okay, that says something. They like the story, and what happens by stealth, the philosophy it's almost like osmosis, absorbed into their hearts through the way the story is told. They don't even know it's happening. That's the way good communists tell their fucking story. They don't get didactic. That's why they've been able to turn the culture over the way they have over the last 75 years, because they tell good freaking stories. And in there is a theme embedded in that story that's communistic or altruistic in nature. And now we have the opposite. And that's what we need. That's what we need. And these guys at the Daily Wire, at best, are going to be didactic. At worst, the acting is going to be wooden. It's going to be so artificial and unrelatable. I mean, as it is when people try to act Ayn Rand, if you see them doing it, even in staged readings, it's so wooden. Where's their humanity? Right?
Yeah.
You can barely identify with them when they're doing a reading. Look, be a human. Be a human being.
Oh, the humanity.
Not only in film and stage productions of Rand's novels, but just hanging around objectivists, you see them trying to play these characters in their speech and disposition, and it's very fake and just clearly stupid. We got a comment the other day from Lazaro saying, "We as objectivists need to stop being sideline critics of everything. We simply cannot continue to think we will get a perfect adaptation of a Rand novel. We need to understand if the movie is well done and catches the essence of the story, people will move towards learning more about objectivism." And he goes on praising the Daily Wire.
Okay, so we need to compromise. Is that it?
No, but it's not even about, look, Dallas Saunier thinks he's going to be delivering a perfect adaptation of the piece. He knows nothing about objectivism. Okay, they might even do what John did and get a philosopher like David Kelly to write pieces of this crap. Okay, and they'll get a reasonably faithful rendition of objectivism. All right, but they're not going to get a very good story. and you need a good story. It all starts with that. And you can't just say, well, it's a great story. It's already embedded in the novel. Yeah, but it doesn't translate cinematically. And that's why they haven't been able to make it for fucking 50 years. Whoever this cat is, popping his mouth off without knowing what he's talking about.
Oh, we'll find him. We'll find him, Mark. I'm kidding.
What's his
That's
name?
a joke.
Give me his address. I'm going to choke him.
Speaking of choking and making threats, allegedly, have you gotten in touch with this John Aguilera character?
So I have determined to definitely have a letter with this guy, email him. I will pass it by my partners in crime before I send it on to him to make sure I don't say anything that I want to burn a bridge. I want to burn his bridge, and I want to burn him along with the bridge. But to make sure that since he still has the rights, that he just is aware that what he's done is unethical, in my opinion. I don't know what he does. I don't know what he does with that. He seems a bit narcissistic. You know, it might inflame him to the degree that he doesn't want to deal with us anymore. But he needs to be told that he's wrong. What he did was wrong, and not including us in at least informing us that he was going to go with the worst company on the planet to do this project. That was a bad move on his part.
Do you think you're going to burn a bridge? Wyatt asks in the chat room. How can you get the rights now that you burned your bridge with the person with the rights?
Well, I haven't burned it yet, but I'm lighting the matches.
Okay,
I mean, I don't know. I think that maybe the bridge got burned from the other side, not necessarily from ours, because I just want to understand, like, why, you know, Jennifer and I, as Jennifer stated earlier, I mean, John really liked our script. We know that he did, and he really loved, and we did a lot of work. We did a lot of pavement pounding and, you know, just straight up grit, reaching out to, you know, lots and lots of producers and A-listers. And so if I were in a room with John, I would want to understand first, like, just what happened? Like, why couldn't we know about it? Why couldn't you have at least talked to us and told us what the deal was? So I kind of feel like the bridge started burning on the other side, and we didn't start the bridge.
That's probably the appropriate way to preach it, to approach it. Look, I mean, Ben Franklin used to write notes to people that were scathing and then put them away in his desk and not deliver them. I'm just mad right now. I'm sure the influence of Jennifer and Jax will calm me down to the extent that I can write a letter that is more seeking to understand than, you know, breaking his jaw. And if I just seek to understand, I put the moral, I guess, onus on him to explain why he would do such a thing, given the very positive nature of our relationship. Because not only did he like the script, not only did his wife like the script, but he liked us. He liked us. And I enjoyed his company to the degree that it was possible to do that. I liked him in a way. And so there's no reason why he couldn't have brought us into the mix and at least given us the opportunity to say, maybe this isn't such a good idea. And let's talk about it a little bit, because here's where we stand with Sutherland's company. And do you really want to produce something that's going to, one, take 5 years to push out, and two, what they push out ain't going to be that quality. I mean, if you see what they've already produced, it's not going to be good. I love Gina Carano. She's not an actress. She's a fighter. You know, I wouldn't mind having her be my bodyguard.
Yeah, she has like two expressions on her face.
Wow. Okay.
She has two expressions.
She has two expressions on her. Like it's like either like stone cold nothing or like anger. That's it. She's not, you know. But yes, I mean, she could totally kick my ass in Muay Thai. I'm certain of that.
And probably mine. And she's cute, and I like some of the things she says. I like her as not knowing her, but her persona, as far as I can see on social media, seems well intended. She's unconventional. She's bucking the system, and in that respect, I like her. She's rebellious. She's got a mind of her own, but she's not an actor.
Mhm.
So Mark,
Next year she's an actor.
so you guys heard Yaron's take on this. Mark, did you have any comments? Did you agree with all of Yaron's comments on it, or you have any?
No, I mean, I didn't. I didn't. But I feel like he was just trying to assuage people's anger. He's like, look, this is just an option. It really doesn't mean anything. And he knows just as well as any of us what Ben Shapiro's feelings are about Atlas Shrugged and about Ayn Rand. And he knows as well as any of us, if not better, what kind of dangers are posed by letting this project be produced by a company that's hostile to many of the essential elements of objectivism. He knows that. I'm not sure if he thinks it's going to get done. And maybe, and that's sort of the impression I got, and he's not wrong. You know, I think he doesn't know the insider baseball that we knew going in with the Daily Wire. He hasn't read our pilot either. But my impression was that he thinks it's nothing to worry about because it's probably not going to go anywhere. Do you guys think that same thing?
Yeah, I think that I love Yaron. I mean, he's funny because every time somebody talks about an Atlas Shrugged remake or an adaptation, Yaron is the guy that always who was that one character that always said it'll never happen. So it's interesting. I think that he tends to be a little bit more optimistic about potentially, what in the end, if it gets people to read the book, that's great.
That's where he's wrong. Behind a paywall with 1 million subscribers who are predominantly religious, you can say, hey, if one person reads the book, okay, so what? Your impact is seriously limited, and the taste of the creatives behind it is seriously limited, and their capacity to blow money on this the way Yaron thinks they can, I think, is also not going to be that impressive. So I think he's
and look at the movies too. So the the movies, even though they were fairly not good, they actually brought new readers to Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, but at the expense of what? At the expense of a pretty bad reputation and in Hollywood that you now have to overcome when you want to try and make a serious adaptation. Because the more bad stuff that's produced, the worse reputation it's going to get. And so now we've got the 3 movies, the trilogy, and then we're going to have whatever the Daily Wire does, and then so you come out later and oh wait, no, there's a new adaptation, and people are going to be like, yeah, been there, done that, sucked, not watching it. So it's just if you get, so what if you get 100,000 new readers to Atlas Shrugged? Has the world changed?
Do you think, I mean, that's a possibility, you never know, but do you think those 3 movies actually brought out 100,000 new readers to Atlas Shrugged? I would highly doubt it. And the overwhelming majority of people understood that they sucked. Okay, and not only does that mess with reputation in Hollywood, it's a bad delivery mechanism for ideas, and that makes the greater majority of people hostile to the ideas. I mean, or if anything, not think of them at all. So you want a good delivery mechanism so that you begin to turn around the culture that is that is automatically going to be hostile to them. And I don't think there's any way that's possible with the Daily Wire. You're automatically marrying objectivism to conservatism, which I think is a massive fail. I think that's a terrible idea, because it's unique. It's not conservative. It's not leftist. It's the antidote to both of those, to the solutions that both of those political ideologies are proposing, and it needs to be presented in that way. And to have this in the conservative camp, it's like, let them do Jesus of Nazareth again. Let them play with that story. Leave Ayn Rand alone.
Yeah, it's marrying Atlas Shrugged to conservatism at a time when conservatives are explicitly rejecting their last remnants of individualism and capitalism. They are like going the extra mile in pushing away everything that Ayn Rand stood for. Like, now is when they need to be hogging this property instead, when better candidates want to work on this. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. They tune in here, they don't listen, they just want to comment right away. This guy Parker in the chat is lecturing everybody, saying, films are never going to be as good as books. You need to just go with the flow.
Hey,
there's a better thing happening here that these folks are trying to produce, but the Daily Wire are C blocking it, if I can abbreviate it. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, Parker, chill out. That's the problem. We have a conservative movement now this is what bothers me about Yaron's optimism. Love the optimism, but why? If he read that circular that everybody had to sign at the Daily Wire, he knows in the conservatives is rejecting the Enlightenment, rejecting individualism, rejecting reason outright, embracing mysticism, claiming even that language is part of the problem. Like the idea of our conceptual consciousness is part of what causes this angst and conflict with people, and we need to give up on it and go to mysticism, and poetry, the things that Jordan Peterson is sort of preaching. They're going in a scary direction right now, and now you're going to marry Rand to these anti-intellectuals. It's insane.
I also want to actually, sorry, Parker, I don't want to gang up on you, but I do want to speak to this comment that he made in the chat. Films and books are not how the young are influenced today. They're on TikTok and YouTube. 90% of them have the attention span of a gnat. You're arguing over the arrangement of deck chairs on the Titanic. I'm sorry, as a mother to a 17-year-old daughter, and I think Jennifer can say the same, as a mother to an 18-year-old daughter, that is just not true. Yes, they love TikTok. Yes, like I can sit there and I can watch TikTok reels forever. But, my daughter watches most all the TV shows that we do on TV Talk with me. And their attention span is not of gnats. They care about stories, they care about entertainment, and they care about arcs. They don't like getting hit over the head with philosophy or didactic stuff. They care about being entertained, and then what they do is they absorb these stories and they assimilate them when they're good themes into their lives. So
let's face it. There was a time when people read the book and then saw the movie, right? And then they could say, the movie wasn't as good as the book. Those days are sort of gone, Parker. I hate to say it, but many of those millennials and Gen Zers their only contact with Ayn Rand is going to be that series, quite frankly. And the book may disappoint, to be honest with you. So you want to make a series that's going to make an impression on those people because they're visual now. Okay, for better or for worse, that's the way they take in information. And you want something that's going to be a perfect delivery system for those folks. And I thought this version of this adaptation was that perfect delivery system. I don't want to say is, and one of these frickin' days, all of these people are going to know that.
Yeah, and and yes, we are ganging up on you, Parker. But like when you say, oh, TikTok and the kids these days, they've got short attention. Well, these people are trying to produce like an HBO quality show, maybe on HBO. Like it's gonna be, it's gonna be captivating to young people because it's gonna be a high quality show, not what Gina Carano thinks is. Okay, I'll leave her out of this. Nathan with $10 says, I love this episode. Thank you all. And then Mark with $5, not Pellegrino, but Moses. He says, if the Daily Wire production stays behind the paywall, isn't the damage somewhat limited? Yeah, that's my silver lining. It's like, it's only going to be shown to people that are living in their own bubble, in their own echo chamber. And maybe a couple of them will end up reading Rand. Yes, it's at great cost, but there's like the optimism.
It'll unfortunately still get rated by IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, and the reviews will still be out there. So to that extent, even though it won't be publicly, available to be streamed on like a Hulu or something like that, it's still gonna, not have a good reputation. It's still yet another hurdle to overcome.
It's going to reverberate badly in the industry, and that's going to make any future projects with respect to Ayn Rand very, very difficult to produce. And the idea isn't to make this thing disappear in the memory hole of the Daily Wire, which is what I think will happen. Here it is, going down the memory hole. Goodbye, Ayn Rand. You want this thing to get purchased in the culture. You need a wide audience, and the new network has the capacity of doing that. It can do it, right? You want the Disney Plus audience of 163 million people, not a million religious conservatives. I mean, that's just sick.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. And yeah, like this is making Ayn Rand look crusty, stale, uncool, passe, like, something Ben Shapiro thinks is cool. That is not what makes me want to watch something if I've never heard of Ayn Rand or if I've never seen anything positive about Rand. So this is the wrong move for all the reasons that's stated today. And the worst part is it's blocking you good people from moving ahead with your project, which sounds like it actually is cool and it is relatable to the youngsters, kind of like me. Let's wrap it up because we are almost out of time. Coming up at 7 p.m. UK time in a little bit, it's the Briefly Objective premiere with Harry Binswanger on Immanuel Kant's Civil War. And then at 9 p.m. UK time, it's HBTV with Harry Binswanger on Refuting Biden. There you go, everybody. See, we can be cool. We can punch left. We can pick on Joe Biden. Isn't that what makes the Daily Wire so interesting and captivating? Daniel with $10. Thank you for that. And I think Dylan also, thank you for $5.
Thanks, Dylan.
That. All right. Ed, any final points? Mark, do you have an email or two you want to read to us while we've got you?
I don't have those copies, but the girls do. I think it's a little bit long. We don't have to end on a negative note unless people want to hear me slap Dallas. They can. I would just say we're not going to give up the fight. We are going to keep fighting for this project to get done right so that it reaches the most number of people, the people most susceptible to this philosophy, who need it the most, the young, when they're first experimenting with the idea of philosophy, when they're 14, 15 years old. We want to make this thing perfect for them, for that 15 to 25-year-old demographic that needs to hear the stuff that are going to be the leaders of the future. And we're not going to stop fighting until that happens. So, hey man, I don't know if that means a letter campaign to the Daily Wire that they're making a big mistake and that there's a better project out there. If anybody feels like taking up that campaign, that might be a way to go. I haven't thought about it. It's just off the cuff. But just keep fighting for the right thing.
Keep fighting for the right thing. And I hope the three of you keep fighting for this project, and I mean, at the end of the day, if you end up working on this a few years in the future, at least you'll have a bit more experience and you'll have fine-tuned the project a little bit more. And you might look back and say, thank God we had this enormous delay because now it's perfect. And also if if the strike completely ends up getting completely blocked from ever being created and it's all one big disaster, Well, the good news is, Hollywood might have turned your show into a like dinosaur buddy flick anyway. So
Maybe we'll just do a table read of the script.
Yeah, the script and the emails. That's what I want to watch. And if there's any way, and all of us can support, a fundraiser or an email blasting harassment campaign, whatever it is you need, you can count on me and all of our viewers. I speak for them.
Well, great. We'll put our heads together and we'll figure out what the next step needs to be, and we'll make sure to keep you in the loop.
All right, and we'll be back tomorrow for the Daily Objective at the same time. Thank you all, critics and fans alike. We really appreciate you watching. We have one of our all-time highest viewerships right now live. This is a great thing, and if I could just express my disdain for the Daily Wire one last time, that's all I really care about. Thank you, ladies, for being here. Thank you, Mark, for calling from your undisclosed location. And please wear gloves whatever you do.
In the WITSEC program.
Yes. All right. Thank you all, and goodbye.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.